Hi everyone. Today's tutorial is all about Infection Monkey. For those who don't know, Infection Monkey is an online tool that you can install. It's an open source tool that you can set up in your network to test the resiliency, as they put it, and the security posture of your network. The best use of this tool is if you have a cloud environment or if you have servers, endpoints, or production networks in Google Cloud, AWS, or any other cloud environment. This tool will help you evaluate and assess the current security posture of your endpoints, or let's say, public-facing servers. If you have a DMZ network set up in the cloud and you want to test its security posture, you can use Infection Monkey. It's a free, open-source tool, and I'll include the link in the video description box so you can navigate and start using it if you need it. So, what does Infection Monkey mean in terms of penetration testing? We can see Infection Monkey as a tool to automate your penetration testing. However, you should know that while Infection Monkey is automated, as you can see here in the configuration, you can customize the settings that will be applied during the testing. You can also add your own configurations and testing points in the configuration window. That said, nothing replaces manual penetration testing. Automated tools can save you time, but manual penetration testing, starting with MAP and using tools like Mimikatz or other testing tools for SQL injection attacks and privilege escalation, is essential. Nothing can replace manual testing, but it's good to have this automated tool to test your network. In this video, I'm going to start by showing you how to use this tool, beginning with the configuration. We'll run a test of Infection Monkey on one of my instances in Google Cloud. For the configuration, we can feed the tester with default passwords or passwords to guess. The default passwords for brute forcing attacks are specified, but you can add your own. For example, you could add Google. You can also add a list of passwords that will be used during brute forcing attacks. Here, you can add the users. The credentials part of the tool is pretty easy, but it's limited. If I want to add many usernames and passwords to enhance the functionality of brute force testing, I would be overwhelmed. I'm not going to go over and add the usernames and passwords manually. Now, regarding the basic network settings, you can specify the subnets that will be scanned by Infection Monkey. If you have production servers that might be affected during the test, or if you don't tolerate downtime that might result from the testing, you can specify the IP address of the production server in your network. Be sure to list the internal IP addresses. This is beneficial if you have a web server with a load balancer and you're sure that this web server can't handle the traffic generated by the infection. You can put the IP address here. The distance from island setting means that when Infection Monkey starts scanning your network, it will jump from server to server, from IP to IP, and you can specify the number of hops. It's better to leave this as it is unless you have a very large network and want to speed up the scan. If you want to scan the network, you can opt for a local network scan, or if you don't want to, you can uncheck that option. You can also list IP addresses using CDR notation. If you want to isolate a specific network from the testing, you can put the IP address here. Now, let's jump to the monkey settings. The behavior settings relate to what Infection Monkey will do before, during, or after the scan. You might want to check the self-delete or cleanup option so you don't leave traces of the Infection Monkey tool after the scan, and you want to log the files. Make sure this is ticked if you want to see the logs after the scan. The settings here relate to the victims and the number of machines you want to try to exploit. If you don't have specific configurations or requirements during your scanning, you may want to conduct your scanning with these default options. You also want to use Mimikatz to decrypt and dump user browser credentials. If you have Microsoft Azure installed on one of your servers, you can try to harvest the credentials and system information. Now let's go to Monkey Island. This is for the command servers, which means if I say to go to Google Cloud, I need to find the Monkey server. Here, you can see the internal IP. You want to leave these command server settings as they are. The current server here is the internal IP address of the machine on which Infection Monkey is installed. Infection Monkey will try to scan for internet connectivity during the scan, so you might want to add your own, but it's better to leave these as they are. Now, for the network settings, you can specify the maximum timeouts for the machines that will be pinged. You can also specify the HTTP ports depending on your configuration. For example, if you have default ports like 8080 and 443, you can specify them here. If you have other servers running HTTP on other ports, you can add them. Here, you can specify the target TCP ports that Infection Monkey will scan. You can add ports like 25 for FTP or 21 for SFTP. Now let's go to the exploits section. Here, you can specify the exploits that Infection Monkey will try against your machines or production servers. If you want to try more than one exploit, you can hold down the control key and select the exploits. As you can see, I'm going to select all of these. There are unsafe exploits that are not recommended for use on production machines or production servers, as they might cause crashes. If you are scanning against these exploits, you can leave the configuration as it is. Now, let's go to the internal settings. This is for fingerprinting and reconnaissance. You can see that all the exploits are selected. If you are scanning Windows machines and want to dump the usernames and passwords of the current users installed on the system, you can upload your own LM and NCLM hash list. You can try to guess the password based on these hashes. Now that we have set the configuration, we need to go to the Run Monkey section. You have two options. You can run the monkey on the island server and let the tool detect the current network and scan the hosts on the network. Alternatively, you can click on Run on Machine of your choice and specify the target operating system of the machine you want to test. For me, I'm going to go to my machine, change the interface, and see what version of Linux I'm using. I can type ID to check the test machine. Now I can count and I see that I'm on a 64-bit system. Let me hop back to Infection Monkey and select Linux 64. I'll copy that and change back to my test machine. Once you click Enter, the tool will be downloaded to the test machine and run. Click Enter, and you might get a permission denied error. You need to give permissions to the tool, so let me switch back to the root user. Now, let's paste the command again. Once the scan is run, you can go back to Infection Monkey and see the infection map. The map shows the machines that have been scanned, and you can see the report over here. It says no critical security issues were detected. The report shows the machines that have been tested, the usernames and passwords that were tried for brute forcing, and the exploit methods. The report also recommends doing some segmentation on the scan server, as nothing dangerous has been detected. As you can see, no usernames and passwords have been discovered, and no exploits have been found. All of our machines are secure, at least in the eyes of Infection Monkey. However, that doesn't mean the machines are absolutely secure. You need to play around with the configuration, add your own exploits, and specify more than one endpoint to be tested. Infection Monkey is a penetration testing automated tool that can help with some exploits, misconfigurations, brute forcing, and denial of service testing using the ping tool. It's also a reconnaissance tool. I think it's a pretty good tool to automate your work, but it's not a replacement for manual penetration testing. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.